He's the former president and publisher of the Sun Herald, and now he's on the radio. Welcome to Coast View with Ricky Matthews on SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1.
I hope you're having a great day. Welcome back to the Coast View. As I've said so many times before, this is a show about that's dedicated to the men and women who are making South Mississippi, coastal Mississippi, a better place to live, work, and play. This morning, I have a very special guest, Jerry St. Pé. He's one of the most gifted leaders in the history of the state of Mississippi. I like to refer to him, and you'll understand why in just a few minutes. He's literally a living legend. He spent 26 years in the executive suite or the executive staff at Ingalls, 10 years as VP of Public and Industrial Relations, and then another 16 years as its president. His rise from the Ninth Ward in New Orleans to become president of Ingalls is another Horatio Alger story. I know I mentioned that last week when I was talking about Rick Carter and Terry Green, but the truth is there's no better explanation for Jerry's life and the path that he has took, the steady rise to become president of one of the most strategically important shipyards in the United States. He wrote an autobiography, I'll just kind of hold it up here to the camera for a second, on Eagle's Wings, and it's a detailed account of his life. Jerry, by the way, I went to Amazon this morning. There's one copy available on Amazon.
How much is it selling for?
$100. Anyway, he's always been a man that I've looked up to. He's admired. I've admired him for his great mind. He's always had a strong sense of civic responsibility. If you talk to him, you get an essence that he has this lifelong pursuit of excellence. While he was president of Ingalls, he was referred often as one of the top shipbuilding executives in the country. And while he retired in 2001, he hasn't stopped a bit. He's got a consulting business. He's served on corporate boards, and he is still to this day doggedly involved in the region. It would take a day to have this conversation with Jerry, to be honest with you. I mean, I hope that we can give justice to who he is in just an hour. So anyway, without any further ado, good morning, Jerry.
Well, thank you, Ricky, and thanks for having me on the program. I've been, I think I missed one of your shows since it was launched, I guess a week ago this past Monday.
Yes.
So I hope my appearance here today doesn't bring down your ratings.
I think people are going to see why you're here today, and I expect big things from this. Hey, so let's do this. We're gonna go through your life and some important moments along the way that people can learn from. But what I want to establish right off the bat is why is Huntington Ingalls so important to Mississippi, the coast of Mississippi, and actually more importantly the Gulf Coast region, including Alabama. Why is it so important?
Well, the yard's celebrating its 80th year doing business in Mississippi and doing business in Pascagoula, Mississippi. I'm obviously not familiar with all of that history, but I'm familiar with about 60 years of it. First and foremost, back in the late 80s, when I came to Mississippi as a young newspaper reporter, reporting on the activities of the shipyard was part of my assignment. And then later on, during my 40 years with the shipyard, had a closer and developed a more detailed appreciation for the impact that the shipyard has, not just on Pascagoula and Jackson County or the coast, but the entire Mississippi Gulf Coast. It clearly has long been, but today probably is the most efficient shipbuilding company in the United States, and I would suggest that probably in the world. Grading my own homework here, the shipyard today, based on my research, is probably in the strongest position it's probably ever been in those 8 decades in terms of its backlog of business, its reputation with its customers in terms of quality and schedule integrity, and is making a great contribution to the economy of the coast across this region.
So if you've heard me talk about this before, but when you have Chevron and Ingalls on one end and Stennis on the other end, and all the diversity and tourism and all the other things in between, it really does create the bookends. Of course, the star of the bookends is Ingalls, but this region has a lot going for itself these days.
No question. If you were going to write a script for how best to to build a foundation and a sustaining economy, you could not write one better than the one that we have on the coast in terms of its diversity. And proof in the pudding is how the coastal region made it through the recent recession. Clearly had a couple of bumps in the road, but for the most part, this region probably done better than any other part of the United States of America, and it's because of precisely what you described. We got this diversity with the bookends in Hancock and Harrison County in terms of high-tech businesses, and then with Harrison County, with the tourist business that we have, certainly with the presence of the casinos over the past 20 years. It's a textbook example about how not just to build an economy, but how to build it in such a way that it has sustainability and isn't dependent on one aspect of the economy in terms of its future.
What's been interesting, Jerry, about this show I mentioned to you this morning is this opportunity that I had to, as a publisher, to get to know people better, that I really didn't understand the essence of them. Like one of the things, for example, in reading your book, you allowed people to sort of, you know, the book on you was you were a photographer that became president of Ingalls. And you were okay with that.
Yeah.
What's interesting, though, as I read your book, is the impact that growing up on the Upper Ninth Ward had on you. And your parents would never let you think that you were poor, but you were. Talk about how that impacted you, and then, you know, that road that brought you ultimately to South Mississippi.
Yeah, well, you know, the Ninth Ward of New Orleans was unique back in the late 40s and early 50s, and it's still unique today. In the neighborhood that I grew up in, and when I describe a neighborhood in New Orleans, we're talking about a one block. We're not talking about
right.
a large footprint.
Yes.
Every family was similarly situated, as you point out, by standards of the day and by standards of today. We were poor. What a credit to my parents, and in having us grow up in an environment where we didn't have the material things, but we never thought of ourselves as being different than anybody else. It was a Norman Rockwell kind of environment. Families looked out for each other. As a matter of fact, in the one block area where I grew up, there were 5 of us, including my twin sister and myself, all born during a 5-day period in December. To this day, every year, we get together for a few days for a reunion.
Wow.
And it's when I look back on it, and I think about the things that are important, not just to my life, and humility and appreciation for support by your parents and by your friends, I look back on those days in the Ninth Ward.
I'm really struck. The thing that really surprised me, again, coming back to this photographer became president of Ingalls. It was so much more than that. You were, you know, at an early age, you found a way to finish high school. I loved your Lou Holtz comment where you said that, thank God to you, there's a 10% in the class. Or how did you say that?
Yeah. If it wasn't for him, there wouldn't be a top 10%.
It wouldn't be a top.
Or as Mark Twain said, they never let school get in the way of an education.
Right. Well, you know, you didn't have a formal education immediately in the early days of your life, but what you found was initially a photographer, but then you started writing. And I'm going to kind of move us on into Pascagoula. You found your way to Pascagoula, and you found 2 amazing mentors in Ira Harkey and Easton King. What did you learn from them?
Well, first of all, when I came to the Chronicle Star in 1958, the paper was coming out twice a week. Didn't realize it at the time. I mean, look, I was working as a copy boy, if you will, a messenger on the New Orleans newspaper when the paper sold in the mid part of 1958. Didn't have a job, and it was because of mentors that I had on that hooked me up with Ira and Easton. Didn't know much about the newspaper at all, but clearly one of the most respected newspapers in the state. They taught me a lot, obviously. It was part of my apprenticeship as a newspaper reporter. Only had 2 of us on the editorial staff, in addition to what Ira and Easton covered. Gave me the opportunity to to understand humanity in a way that I probably would not have in a larger newspaper. So great experience.
Ira is a Pulitzer Prize winner.
Yes, he is.
You know, his editorials on James Meredith enrollment in Ole Miss. He was honored for that. It was a courageous thing to do at the time, and you were there during all of that.
Yes, I was.
That had to have had a lasting impact.
He was way ahead of his time. As a matter of fact, as I sort of look back on that, and I got to give credit to Robert Kayott when he was chancellor at Ole Miss, the Silver Elm Award they give out at Ole Miss for outstanding journalism. It was 25, 30 years after Ira won the Pulitzer that through Robert Kayott and my relationship, the university recognized Ira for extraordinary journalism in the state.
So when we come back, I want to finish the conversation about how being a reporter changed Jerry, and then we'll move on to his life at Ingalls. We'll be back after this break.
Thanks.
Also listen live to SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1 on your Amazon Alexa devices. Once you've enabled the skill, just say, Alexa, open SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast.
Okay, here's the deal. If you like saving money, then listen to what I'm about to say. Don't scan the dial, listen. We've got tickets to the Audubon Zoo for just $15. And yeah, you do the quick math, that's half price. $30 zoo tickets for just $15. Best part about it? No catch to it. Get as many half-price tickets as you want right now at SuperTalk 1031's Facebook. And just look for the Half Off Deals logo and click it. It's really easy. Take the kids to the zoo for half price. But hurry, this offer ends. They might already be sold out.
I'm J.B. Brown, one of the sports medicine doctors at Bienville Orthopedic Specialist. So athletes put their bodies through an extreme amount of activity, and sometimes they will have strains and sprains. So the difference boils down to a couple of different things here. Sprains are typically used to refer to stretching or tearing a ligament, and ligaments connect our bones together. Strains, on the other hand, are referred to muscle injuries or tendon injuries, which attach those muscles to the bone. Anytime an athlete experiences either of these, their symptoms always include pain, swelling, soreness, and if it's severe enough, they may not be able to continue in their athletic endeavors. Sometimes they'll have bruising and stiffness, and sometimes muscle spasm occurs. So once that happens to an athlete, we recommend that they discontinue their athletic activity and seek some medical care. What we like to do is to get the body part elevated as soon as possible. We like to place ice on it. We start anti-inflammatory medications. So this gives them a chance to start the healing process quickly, which allows us to get them back into the game sooner than if we waited a little bit later.
Ugh, I've got to get that fixed.
Uneven driveways causing headaches? Helms Polyfoam will fix it without tearing up your driveway in the process. We inject Polyfoam under settled concrete to stabilize it in a matter of minutes, not days. Polyfoam is used on runways, railways, and highways, so there is no question it will support your driveway. We also repair seawalls, sidewalks, pond dams, retaining walls, and unstable soil. Visit HelmsPolyfoam.com or call Helms Polyfoam at 601-966-7821.
A little sweat and pain from a hard day's work's nothing to be afraid of. But if I'm honest, I am a little afraid of what day after day of hard work and painful nights might do, like lead to an opioid addiction. Working in the construction industry increases our risk of opioid use disorder, which can hurt us and the people we love. If you or someone you know is struggling with opioid addiction, we can help. Visit standupms.org to learn more.
Just like money in your pocket, that's super fun. When you trade with us, you always get our best. Super deals are why, whether you sell or buy. We cash checks, we pay bills, we make loans like no one will, and help you keep your pockets filled. Just like money in your pocket, that's super fun.
This is Coast View with Ricky Matthews on SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1.
Welcome back. We've got Jerry St. Pé with us this morning. Jerry, as I think about your role as a reporter, one of the things I look back at my 15 years as a publisher, and the thing that sticks out to me is that that reporters were very good thinkers. Usually, they could organize their thoughts. They could understand. They wanted to learn. As you learned to become a better reporter, you actually became a human sponge. You went on a quest of continuous learning that you're still on today. Tell us how you leveraged that as you went into the Ingalls environment and then beyond.
Well, before you can be a good thinker, you got to be a good listener. Yeah. We don't learn a lot when we're in transmission. And when I look back on it, my days as a journalist helped me develop learning skills, listening skills that served me throughout my career at Ingalls. I mean, it simply because of deadlines, because of the limited space you have to tell your story. You're forced, you're disciplined to listen carefully, take what's relevant, use it, retain it, apply it, and for at least the time being, take what is not relevant and set it aside. Someday it may turn out to be useful. And I mean, those are listening skills that served me well in other aspects of my assignments at the shipyard. So
you joined the shipyard initially in public relations.
Yes.
And then tell us about how quickly your career evolved.
Well, I don't know how quickly it was. It was over time. I spent 10 years in the public affairs office handling press relations and a lot of other assignments. And then in 1975, a fellow by the name of Len Erb, a former Navy submarine skipper, came in as a president, had some reorganization that he undertook, and at that point I took on some additional assignments, including employment, labor relations, management succession, and a few other assignments. And then in 1985, when Len retired, I was fortunate to move into the presidency of the company.
So let's come back to labor relations, because if you study your career, what you did in that realm was incredibly important to the shipyard. And what Joanne Anderson, who wrote the foreword to your book, said about you, she said, Jerry had the mystical elements in his personality and character that persuaded labor leaders that he was telling the truth and advising the best way to go. They were dealing face to face with a man of their own working class background, and a good man. They sensed it. Jerry possessed rare intellectual ability to hold in mind critically important industrial facts: finance, market dangers, market opportunities, and how to play the game against very tough competition, no matter how high up the ranks. You had a sense of that. Where did that come from?
Probably came from the Ninth Ward of New Orleans. Growing up in a humble environment, and understanding that the real strength of that shipyard weren't those of us sitting in an office. It was those people on the south side of the gates building the ship, and we needed to listen to them. Mississippi is a right-to-work state. Shipyards always had, even during that period of time that you just discussed, we had some pretty serious problems. We had problems with our relationship with our customer. We had problems with our relationship with our unions. That's probably one of the reasons that my predecessor, Len Erb, thought we needed a change in the human resources organization of the company. And it gets back to listening. I mean, the labor relations today at the shipyard are as best they've probably been in those 80 years. And it was a challenge for us, but we got there. We got there going back to listening to the problems of the employees, and then making sure that decisions that we made took into account their best interest.
So there's so many important contributions you made as you became president of the company, some of those direct, some of those indirect. For example, the concept of carpet row. Explain that.
Well, that was a concept that was there before I got there, and it had a connotation that didn't fit with what I thought was the right. So we tried to get rid of it, probably with a very limited success.
What is it? What does that mean?
Well, it was the offices that actually had carpet on it. I mean, that was, and it was. Some may have viewed that as sort of being sort of an elite kind of thing, but I never was successful in pushing back on it. But we had an open door policy. I probably seldom had my door shut at my office. We didn't have a barrier between the executive offices of the company. So it we got rid of the carpet. We're trying to get rid of the carpet road concept and image.
But I think your accessibility as a leader that you established when you were doing labor relations and working in the community, I think certainly personalized that office and made it so that people felt more able to say what they thought, because that communication you believe was going to be the key to the shipyard's success. As you continued to move forward, though, you did some really important things, like, for example, form a public-private partnership with the state of Mississippi that really was, it was the benchmark. It was the watershed moment that enabled us to create this footprint we have today that has made this shipyard so strategically important. Talk about that.
Well, the shipyard itself, as we know it today, represents probably the best example of public-private partnership, not just in the state of Mississippi. What we refer to today as the West Bank Shipyard, going on its 50th year right now, was built in partnership with the state. It was the first time, not just in Mississippi, but anywhere in the United States where a state put up its full faith and credit for an industrial development project. It had long been done at the county level and at the municipal level, but the new West Bank Shipyard, built in 1968, was in partnership with the state. Took a special session of the legislature to change the law to allow that financing by the state. And so, I mean, it's a partnership that continues today. I thought about it coming over here. The new West Bank Shipyard in 1958 was built with a $130 million industrial bond issue. A lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
Within the last 3 years, Ingalls Shipbuilding, in partnership with the state of Mississippi, invested $700 million in recapitalizing both the West Bank and in reactivating the old East Bank Shipyard.
Wow.
Once again, just the reflection of the relationship that the yard has had with the state and with the county and with the city of Pascagoula.
So as you look back, though, in your career as president of Ingalls, is that one of the defining moments?
Oh, no question about it. I mean, I kind of laugh about it. When I went to work as a sort of a messenger on the New Orleans item in 1958, I said, this is my entry as a journalist. And the same was true when I went to work at the shipyard. I've been blessed. I'm reminded, though, constantly that whatever good fortune and blessings have come my way have been so only because of the people that work with me and work for me.
Yeah.
I've got a philosophy. It's not original, but I believe in it. Always believed in it. Believe in it more so today when I sort of look in the mirror and to see where I've come from, where I began. If I'm in a room and I'm the smartest person there, I'm in the wrong room, and I better see about getting the population of the room increased.
Mm-hmm. Boy, is that true. I think it's so important as a leader to surround yourself with really smart people.
And then get out of their way while they go about doing their job.
So as you look back, are there other defining moments?
Well, there were mentors in my life. You mentioned two of them. You mentioned Ira Harkey. When I went to work on a New Orleans item as a copy boy, I had some mentors that took me under their wings. Some of them are known. Phil Johnson, who was WWL's news director and editorial writer. Another by the name of Tommy Sankton, who was a writer.
I saw Hap Glaudy. Tell me about Hap.
All of those guys sort of took me under their wings. They obviously saw something in me that I didn't see in myself. I watched their work. I watched their writing. I watched their reporting. And as a result of that, I got a few assignments along the way, and I was on my way.
And the rest is kind of history.
Yeah.
So what I want to do in the next segment is to have a conversation about the community and leadership in the community, and sort of follow your path along the way as it relates to that. But you always understood that you had to have a connection with the community, even during your ascension as the president of Ingalls, because there was a symbiotic relationship that existed there, that you could not be successful in your business without that. You just kind of frame that for us.
Look forward to it.
Huh?
Well, you're right. Yeah, you're right. I mean, look, first of all, the shipyard was and still is, obviously, the largest employer in the state of Mississippi. and by many, many factors, the largest employer in Jackson County, Mississippi. And the importance of that engagement, that partnership with the community is critical.
It may be the largest employer in Mobile County.
I think it is. At least that's what I used to tell Jack Edwards and the other congressmen when they
certainly indirectly.
Yeah.
So we're just capturing the high moments of this amazing career, from the lower Ninth Ward in New Orleans to his time as a reporter, and then joining Ingalls and then becoming president, forming the largest public-private partnership at the time in the history of our state. And so when we come back, we are going to dive into the community. So I think that's such an important part of his overall success, and he's still doggedly at it today. In just a few minutes, we'll be back with Jerry St. Pé.
SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1 on Twitter at SuperTalk MSGC.
From the Singing River Electric and Coast Electric Newsroom, your news now.
A Diamond Head man is facing up to 20 years in prison for possessing more than 90,000 images and videos of minors engaging in sexually explicit conduct. Taryn Nadeau was found guilty of knowingly collecting images of children younger than 12 years of age. He'll be sentenced in April and faces a maximum penalty of 20 years in prison and a $250,000 fine on each of the 3 counts he's convicted of. A Gulfport woman pled guilty to manslaughter and taking a motor vehicle. Sandra Goff has been given 20 years for shooting Michael Lissette after several requests to leave her home, and 10 years for taking a motor vehicle back in August of 2018. The LSU Tigers win college football's national championship by defeating Clemson 42-25. Joe Burrow threw for 463 yards with 5 touchdown passes. This is LSU's 4th national championship, their first since 2007. For SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1, I'm Kyle Curley.
Everyone in my family uses electricity differently. But when it comes to our Touchstone Energy Cooperative, we all think about it the same way. The co-op is power. Sure, electricity turns the lights on, but power is the information I get from my co-op about efficiency, safety, technology. And I trust the co-op because we are the co-op.
They're our neighbors.
Our friends. Our home.
Brought to you by Coast Electric and Singing River Electric, your Touchstone Energy Cooperatives.
Just like money in your pocket, that's Super Pawn. When you trade with us, you always get our best. Super deals are wide, whether you sell or buy. We cash checks, we pay bills, we make loans like no one will, and help you keep your pockets filled. Just like money in your pocket, that's Super Pawn.
Hi, Saver. Walgreens here. We like the way you save. Take coffee. You know it doesn't have to cost $4 a cup, so you make your own. And co-pays on Medicare Part D. You save up to $5 and get 100 Balance Rewards points on each prescription when Walgreens is your preferred pharmacy. Save smartly on Med D. Walgreens. Trusted since 1901. Copay savings on Tier 1 generic drugs available through select plans that include Walgreens as a preferred pharmacy. Points cannot be earned in Arkansas, New Jersey, or New York. Complete details at walgreens.com/balance.
Ah, the copperhead snake. It hisses before attacking. But that's not a copperhead. That's the Sullivan's RV freshwater tank overflowing into their black one, which is backing into their vent pipe, making for a very different kind of attack. One that arrives just in time for taco night. It's wild out there. When it gets too wild, Progressive has your RV covered. Quote today at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates.
Since 1950, when you needed help and advice from an experienced attorney, you turned to Boyce Holloman and Associates. Standing on the principles of experience, integrity, and results, Boyce Holloman and Associates can help you and your family with a variety of legal matters. When you come to Boyce Holloman and Associates of Gulfport, every client, every case gets the level of service from attorneys and staff who honor the legacy of Boyce Holloman's tradition of excellence. See Dean and Tim Holloman at Boyce Holloman and Associates, 1720 23rd Avenue, Gulfport.
When you need to pick up a last-minute birthday card or gift, stop into Love's Pharmacy and Gifts in Pass Christian. Yes, Love's is a full-service pharmacy combining local hospitality and affordability. When half of the store has unique gifts, beautiful decorations for your home, fragrances, and free gift wrapping, you only have to make one stop. Love's Pharmacy and Gifts, 12345 Vidalia Road in Pass Christian. If you love great service with a smile, you'll love Love's Pharmacy, with a second location now open in Ocean Springs.
Hey, I'm Steve Azar, and you never know who or what you'll hear when I spend a Mississippi Minute with my friends. Talking to Paul Thorne, Mississippi true treasure, really incredible recording artist, singer, songwriter. Has been doing it a long time, doing it the right way.
It's almost like a Forrest Gump thing because, I was a boxer, / I worked in a furniture factory, / I had a gig 2 nights a week playing my acoustic guitar in a pizza restaurant, / I was in the National Guard, and, all this stuff was going on at the same time. / I had a writing contract with Rick Hall and Fame.
In a Mississippi Minute. Be sure to check out In a Mississippi Minute with me, Steve Azar, right here on SuperTalk Mississippi, the SuperTalk Mississippi app, and now available on iTunes, Google Play, and Stitcher.
The Mississippi Power Weather Center. Your weather now.
Mostly cloudy today with areas of widespread dense fog, a 30% chance of showers, high 71. Mostly cloudy tonight, widespread fog developing after 9 p.m., the overnight low 63. Tomorrow, mostly cloudy, 20% chance of isolated showers, widespread dense fog before noon, high 71. Visit MississippiPower.com/ways to save to learn about programs and resources that can help you save energy and money on your electric bill.
He's the former president and publisher of the Sun Herald, and now he's on the radio. Welcome to Coast View with Ricky Matthews on SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1.
Welcome back to Coast View. We've got Jerry St. Pé, the legendary Jerry St. Pé. I actually referred to him as a living legend, one of the most important leaders in the history of this state. We've had a great conversation about his ascension from New Orleans to become president of the shipyard and lots of anecdotes around that. But the thing that I'm really looking forward to having a conversation about this morning, Jerry, is the community and the role in the community. Last week, John Harrison, we were having this conversation about the importance of development, and if you wait till you become president or head of a company to decide that you want to be involved in the community, in some way, we certainly need you, but in some ways it's almost too late because you haven't done your reps yet. You understood this early in your career, and you have preached throughout your career the importance of leadership development and bringing folks along and having ownership in your community. But talk about that. Talk about your reps.
Well, I think Robert Caillat in his book talked about a lifetime of education. And when I sort of think of the subject that you're talking about, a community strength obviously is its employers, whether they're large or small, but it's also in support of its community. And it's just not about a responsibility for corporations to engage in a community where they work. It's probably the best way to understand how the community functions and how you as a corporation can support it. I was fortunate from the very moment I went to work at Ingalls Shipbuilding in 1961 that the leadership of the shipyard was well engaged and in the community. And I'm not just talking about populating memberships in civic clubs. I'm talking about its employees at its middle and senior management levels, populating appointed boards like planning commissions and school boards. And the company was very generous and is today to a large degree in allowing its employees. But it demonstrated to me as a new employee at Ingalls that I joined a corporation that understood its role in a community. And more than that, understood the importance of making the resources and skill sets of employees to the community. As I look back on my time at the yard, and getting back to John Harrison's comments about reps, if at one point you want to lift 200 pounds, you just can't start lifting 200 pounds. Okay, it's going to overtake you, and that's the way it sort of helped me a little bit. I mean, I served on the Chamber of Commerce for years, developed a great appreciation for its work, and a community is going to be successful not just with large employers, but with large employers who allow their workforce to become engaged.
So you were involved in economic development. You have a long history in that realm.
Yeah, we have today in Jackson County, in my judgment, probably one of the most successful, one of the most effective economic development organizations certainly anywhere in the state of Mississippi, anywhere in the Southeast, through the Economic Development Foundation, headed by George Freeland, a true public-private partnership. Mm-hmm. But getting back to the reps, and you make a key point, you just can't show up and have the full understanding about what a community needs. You can't have a full understanding about, look, as much as we'd like to sort of proceed on a basis which says, let's get politics out of policy making, the realities are that politics are always going to be involved in policy making. Mm-hmm. And the more that we as business people can understand that, and be part of that, not part of to the extent of having the politics get in the way of good policy, but understanding that without it, good policies probably aren't going to find their way into being implemented in terms of the best interests of the community.
Right. So you have, I don't know how many years of dedication in Jackson County and community work, but your work went beyond that. Your work, for example, in the Coast Business Council and the Governor's Commission after Katrina, and the realization before, of course, but certainly afterwards, that this region was going to be stronger if the coast counties could come together and find issues of common interest. Talk about that.
No question about it. I mean, we talked earlier about the fact that when you look across this coast, the diversification of the business and industry. But then when you sort of move that up, there are a lot of things where the common interests of the coast are not in conflict with the unique interests of the three coast counties, but have to be addressed. And boy, I got to give credit to you and I go back to the days of Anthony Topazzi with the Business Council when it was a group of people that just sat around at Mary Mahoney's and had lunch and talked about a few things to where it is today, and trying to bring the coast together in terms of focusing on common interests that benefit all three coast counties.
Mm-hmm. The former chairman of the Hearst Corporation said a comment, you've heard me say this before, it's been a long time, but that there is a powerful lubrication to change that comes from pain. And he said that if you don't feel it personally, if you don't feel it in your business, you need to look harder. But being aware of the need for change is one of the most important things, and that we should be on this constant journey to improve. And I think it was, Katrina did create this defining moment for the business community regionally to work together in ways we never imagined we could. And the pain of needing to rebuild infrastructure and do get the 800 rule adopted for gaming and all the other things, it created really a defining moment for the leadership of the coast.
Well, using Katrina as an example, and I remember I have a business agent that represented the Carpenters Union by the name of Hurley Ray Galat, and at one of our town meetings in the wake of the hurricane, Hurley got up and we were talking about the need for change. Hurley Galat said, if we always do what we've always done, we'll always have what we already got. Okay? I sort of modified that a little bit. And it says, if we always do what we've always done, then the future isn't going to be what we want it to be. So change is painful. Mm-hmm. When I think about it in a sense of what do we got so much going for us on this coast today. Complacency is probably our biggest enemy. It's going to be the biggest obstacle to taking us way beyond where we are today in terms of progress, economic progress, as well as quality of life progress. This belief that things are just going to happen. Employers like Ingalls Shipbuilding are always going to be here. They've been here for 80 years. They're always going to be here. Chevron's going to always be here. All the great blue chip industries that are sitting in Hancock County are always going to be here. I mean, that kind of attitude, whether it's driven by fear of change or whether it's being by things are okay, let's not mess with them, it represents our largest, my largest concern.
So what you're saying is that we have to embed in the psyche of anyone who's in any leadership role that we haven't arrived. We never arrive. It's just a journey. Exactly. It's a constant journey.
Exactly right.
And if you're not honest about it, whether it's in your life or your professional, or certainly in your professional life or in your community, this need to be very honest about where you are and where you want to go and what it's going to take to get there. It keeps you hungry.
And even if the status quo in some period of time is not only acceptable but a tremendous success, that's going to take change.
Yes.
It's going to take change to just keep us where we are.
Right. So when you add it all up, the tremendous potential that the coast has, the opportunity it has to take advantage of its natural resources, its manufacturing base, its technology base, it's really unbelievable opportunity.
It is.
You know, in the closing moments, I think if people want to really understand how politics and policy sort of come together, Haley's book on Katrina really is an amazing book, America's Great Storm, because it really does connect what happens when all the elements of government work together. I referred to the bipartisan effort that was taking place in Washington as profiles in courage. Do you see it that way too?
Yeah, no question about it. And you made the point in your interview with Haley, comparing what happened in Mississippi in the wake of the hurricane compared to what happened in Louisiana. It's communications. And it is about leadership. I mentioned that, in the wake of Hurricane Camille, there was an effort to form a similar sort of committee. Didn't come anywhere close to achieving the results that the commission in the wake of Katrina produced. And you can contribute that to a lot of things. I mean, the things we had going for us with Katrina was just a great leadership of Haley Barber and Jim Barksdale and Ricky Matthews and George Slogels and all the others. Communications it was different in Katrina as it was in Camille.
Yeah, it was.
We could do some things. I can remember 3 days after the hurricane, flying in an airplane across the coast with one of the state representatives, and I looked out, and I can't remember what casino barge it was sitting on the north side of Highway 90, and I said, if we're going to continue to have gaming as an important part, we're going to have land-based. 4 days later, Larry Gregory, who at the time was the executive director.
Let's do this. We're going to finish this thought about the need for land-based gaming after this break. And we'll find out what is he up to these days.
Sometimes the issues of life require the assistance of a professional. Whether it involves an asbestos-related disease such as mesothelioma, personal injury from an accident, a real estate issue, or even an impending arrest charge, you need the help of an attorney. Cumbest, Hunter, and McCormick have more than 100 years combined experience representing the interests of Jackson County and Gulf Coast clients. Cumbest, Hunter, and McCormick, proud to support the Ole Miss Rebels. 762-5422, cchmlawyers.com.
The Eagle Hour, covering Southern Miss and Conference USA sports. It's the latest news from Southern Miss athletics and conversations with Southern Miss coaches, players, and Golden Eagles legends like Deke Adams, former USM linebacker and now D-line coach at the University of Memphis.
In a world where you could just wave a magic wand, Deke, what has to happen for Southern Miss to take the next step?
You really have to commit financially in a way of wanting to move the program forward. If you're going to be competitive within your conference, because you look at the schools that have moved on, the head coaches are making almost triple what the head coach there is making, and it's just different. I bleed black and gold. It's one thing to say, hey, this is Southern Miss, and have the pride, but you also have to be competitive.
The Eagle Hour, available on demand at supertalk.fm. Presented by the Citizens Bank with 2 convenient Gulf Coast locations on Pops Ferry Road and Lemoyne Boulevard.
This is a last chance alert. It's happening. In just days, Publishers Clearinghouse will award $5,000 a week forever. Enter now at PCH.com and you could win $5,000 a week for your life. Plus, after that, $5,000 a week for life for someone you choose. The $5,000 a week forever prize is guaranteed to be awarded on February 28th. So don't miss your last chance to win. Enter at PCH.com before it's too late. That's PCH.com. Hurry, award day is almost here. Go to PCH.com now. Entries due 2/25. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited.
This is a Jackson Hewitt Tax Service announcement. Don't want to wait weeks for your tax refund? That's a reason to go to Jackson Hewitt Tax Service. File your taxes with Jackson Hewitt and ask a tax pro how you could get up to $3,200 fast with a no-fee refund advance. It's a 0% APR loan from MetaBank that's available before your tax refund is, so you could get money when you need it. Go to jacksonhewitt.com to learn about availability, terms, and how you could get money on a prepaid card fast, like Today Fast. Go to Jackson Hewitt today. That's Jackson Hewitt.
So you probably already know Adventures Pub and Spirits has won awards for local favorites Hangout on the Coast and Best Bar on the Coast, but you may not know that Adventures also features an excellent lunch special menu Monday through Friday. Homemade lasagna, burgundy beef tips, chicken fried steak, shrimp creole, and more for only $8.95. Oh, my personal favorite, the seafood pie loaded up with lump crab meat, shrimp and cheese baked in a flaky pie crust. Adventures Pub and Spirits, 1 block north of the Hard Rock, next door to City Hall on Lemuse.
From the Gallo Radio Show archives.
In the house, Mike Hurst.
When I started at the end of 2017, sadly, our office had gotten so low during the last administration. I think in FY16, we prosecuted 11 illegal immigration cases, 11, which is embarrassing. First year I was there, we had jumped almost 700% to 77 prosecutions. And Paul, that number I think is going to increase very much more this year. We are continuing to see illegal immigration impact crime around the state. I'll give you a perfect example. About a month ago, we prosecuted an illegal alien who had brought 9 kilos of heroin and 1 kilo of fentanyl through our state. Now, to give your listeners an idea of what 2.2 pounds of fentanyl will do, that will wipe out 1 million people, Paul. That'll wipe out a third of our state.
This has been another Gallo Radio Show audio archive. This is Coast View with Ricky Matthews on SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1.
Welcome back, and we've got Jerry St. Pé here. Jerry, where we were at the end of the last segment is you were saying that you looked out over the coast after Hurricane Katrina and saw a casino barge out on Highway 90 and that we needed to do something. But I wanted to remind people that you at the time were the chairman of the Gaming Commission. So we didn't even talk about that whole piece of your career. There's so much. Like I said, it could take a day to do it all. But let's pick up there. You looked out over and then talk about that.
Yeah, we had a plane, Southern Company plane, picked me up in Pascagoula, flew across the coast. And Tom King, who at the time was in the House, today he's the Highway Commissioner, I said, Tom, we've got land-based casinos at the moment. I said, if this industry is going to stay in Mississippi, we got to find a way to make that permanent. 2 weeks later, Larry Gregory, who is the executive director of the Mississippi Gaming Commission, and I flew out to Las Vegas. In about a 72-hour period, we met with every CEO that had an investment in the state of Mississippi. I talked to them about the importance of getting back online as quick as we can, and what did they need from the state. 2 things came out. One, they recognized that the coast was going to find itself in a financial situation. They didn't want that recovery to be funded with increased taxes on the gaming industry. And secondly, they wanted the flexibility to come back on land. And, of course, the rest of it you're familiar with. The special session of the legislature that quickly changed the law to allow that to happen. And I maintain that the casinos were the first line of support in getting the economy back going.
Because you had to get people their jobs back, and for every casino job, there were supporting jobs that went with that. And then we were focused, or Haley was focused on getting schools back open. Yeah. He felt like if people had a place to stay and their kids could go to school and they had a job, that everything else would sort of take care of itself. So, Jerry, what are you up to these days? I mean, you're 80 years old, still going to the gym 2 or 3 days a week and taking care of yourself. Man, what's the secret?
I'm still trying to define success.
Yeah.
You know, and as we mature in life, we go through cycles where we sort of define success in our own situation, whether it be early in our lives in terms of our careers, whether it be financial success. And today I'm, and I guess it's part of continuing to move the bar.
Yeah.
So I'm still trying to understand what that really means in my maturity. Obviously, relationships are high and number one in terms of where I try to keep my focus. Blessed with a wonderful woman with Joanne as my wife. We'll be married 55 years. Come here the first day of spring of 2021. Two great children. My daughter Prudence has dedicated a life to educating my two grandchildren, both of whom have dyslexic. In a case of my oldest granddaughter, even with those challenges, learning challenges, recently got an engineering degree, mechanical engineering degree from the University of Alabama, Roll Tide. And my daughter Prudence today is dedicating her life to helping my grandson, who is also dyslexic and in a special school in Houston. And my son, Lawrence St. Pay, lives in Pascagoula. He's the administrator of the hospital here. Got three beautiful daughters. And so part of my life is dedicated to sort of improving my relationship with not just my family, but with my community. And to giving back as best I can. I mean, I owe this, if I live another 80 years and I'm still able to give back in whatever ways I'm able to do it, I'll still be indebted to this community and to my friends. But I stay engaged in a few business interests only to keep my mind going. I serve on the board of the chamber, the board of the foundation. I still serve on a bank board, so I have the opportunity there to, it forces me, if you will, some discipline and keeping abreast of what's going on in the business community.
So Jerry, we have a couple more minutes, but you skated right over it. But one of the things I always admired about you is that you never lost sight. You never lost balance with how important your family was during that journey. Yeah. I really admired that. And Joanne's been such a great, support for you during this. She's been your partner on your journey.
Well, at the end of the day, if we aren't successful there, all the other successes really don't matter, do they?
No, they don't. No, people ask me when I retired, what am I going to do? And I said, I'm just going to spend more time with my wife and kids and grandkids. And
I mean, I've just been so fortunate in my life, and luck has played on my side. Quick story. I mean, we talked 45 minutes ago about going to work on a New Orleans item. On the night before I had the interview for a copy boy in the item, I was riding up and down Canal Street in an old automobile I had, came to a traffic light, the car in front of me wouldn't start. When the light turned green, I got out to see if I could help the guy. He had run out of gas. The next morning, I showed up at the New Orleans item for an interview for a copy boy. There was 7 of us being interviewed. I was in number 7 because they did it alphabetical. When I walked into the office to be interviewed, there was a sign on the door that said Henry Walbrecht, managing editor. It was the guy I pushed the night before. Never asked me the first question. He says, when can you start?
There are these moments in our lives. Rick and Terry talked about it. John talked about it. We were in the right place at the right time.
That's the reps.
There's, divine intervention. Yeah. Whatever it is.
Good Samaritan, good timing, and good luck.
What a great way to end.
Yeah.
Man, you're an inspiration, man. I really, Jerry, thank you for taking the time to join us today, and I hope people have a great rest of the day and find inspiration.
Yeah.
Have a good day.
Thank you for coming out of retirement and reminding us of all the great things we got going on the coast.
Thank you. You appreciate it.